Yo, what's up, family? Before we start the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and share it in everyone that you can. Just do out there a little bit more. With that being said, let's get right into the video. So, of course, the Celtics are gonna have an interesting offseason. We have been rumored to move guys like Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, and Sam Hauser. Of course, we've had some Jaylen Brown trade rumors come out as of late. I think that's just all leverage stuff for the Spurs, honestly. But honestly, I don't really understand why it is leverage stuff because like Jaylen Brown's not better than KD, but I would assume Jaylen Brown is more valuable. I don't know, probably because of the contract and stuff like that, but he is younger. But we are here with three of in my opinion, the three best trade partners for the Celtics as far as the Jrue Holiday sweepstakes. Now, when I say the best, right, I don't mean the best package because, of course, other teams have better packages. And when a lot of y'all send me trade stuff, y'all don't be thinking about the opposing team, which I don't hate. I wish every trade had the Celtics fleecing, which is what the Celtics do most of the time, so you're probably not wrong. But in this, I have teams that have a want or need for Jrue Holiday, right? So that's probably a playoff team, a team that needs defense or has expressed value or interest in Jrue Holiday. Two, the team that we're trading with gives us options. So there are multiple guys and different packages that we can get from that team based on what we want, right? So let's just start there. So we're gonna start with the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are a playoff team. They're a team that fits Jrue Holiday's timeline. They would like to have Jrue Holiday, and we have options. So what I mean by options is we can take a guy like Norman Powell, for instance. Oh wait, can't send them to nowhere. Celtics, Clippers. So obviously we will be sending Jrue Holiday over there. So let's take a guy for option one. Let's take a guy like Norman Powell. This is a guy that can score 20 points in this league on really efficient shooting. So with a guy like Tatum out for a majority of the next season, Norman Powell can take a chunk of that scoring punch and help Jaylen Brown, right? He is also on an expiring deal. That's a big thing, right? We're trying to get cheaper. Now, cheaper does not always mean you cut the whole salary in one trade. A lot of times that's not what happens. So you have to go down from 30 to 25 to 20, or you go to 20 with an expiring deal, and you just try to chip away at that salary, which is what the Clippers allow us to do. So now, if the Celtics want a player back that's really gonna play and that can potentially play with Tatum and Brown, Norman Powell is that guy. Plus, he's on an expiring contract, so things don't work out, or he just plays, we go a different direction, we get off of $20 million, right? And a contract in Jrue that has 3 years plus a player option, we weren't gonna get off that, right? So we would have to put in, like, even a guy like Derrick Jones Jr. This trade works. I'm not sure if the Clippers would give up two of their quality role players. Powell, again, is a guy that can score 20 points on great efficiency. Derrick Jones Jr. is one of the best athletes in the NBA. Still a guy that in a playoff setting, you would want him to shoot it a little bit better than he does. But he's a guy that is really athletic, again, can guard multiple positions, and he can add to the winning. I don't know if the Clippers do this, but you could also do a guy like Chris Dunn, who is one of the best perimeter defenders in the NBA. And then you can do this trade works, right? So something like this. You got Chris Dunn, who upholds our defensive thing, right? He is on par with perimeter defense with Jrue Holiday. I promise you. Like, Chris Dunn is a menace, right? But in a playoff setting, he really can't shoot, so he'll get played off the floor sometimes, right? You have Norman Powell again, who I mentioned. Now we can go over, take off Norman Powell, right? And we can go to a guy like Bogdanovich, who is worse than Powell, but it says his contract is 2 years. The second year is a team option. So same thing with Norman Powell. He's an expiring contract. If the Clippers want to give us less value in the players that they're trading us, Bogdanovich is in the same situation as Powell, right? 17 to 19 per year, expiring deal for the Celtics. And then we'll still be able to put in Chris Dunn. We'll probably have to put in a Drew Eubanks, and this trade works, right? So there's just a lot of options we can go with the Clippers, none of which include draft capital because they don't have any. You know what I'm saying? The Paul George stuff kind of wiped them out. I mean, can they send pick 30? I didn't know they can actually send their first round pick this year. But the Clippers are a team that wants/needs Jrue Holiday. He fits their timeline. They have options as to what the Celtics can trade for. Good players, role players, expiring contracts, stuff of that nature. So the Clippers are number one. Not number one in terms of order, but they are the first team. The next team, is the Sacramento Kings. They want and need defense so bad. Now, if I was advising the Kings, I would just tell them to stop this shit. Like, stop trying to be good or fight for the playoffs just to get there and fight for the play-in and probably not get into the play-in, or just lose in the first round, not get into the second round. But on the flip side, they were just in a drought for what, 20 years of not being in the playoffs. So it's tough to tell a fan base and an organization, hey, you missed the playoffs for 20 straight seasons. You finally got back. Now you need to stop trying to make to the playoffs. Like, I get it. I understand. It's the Kings, man. So they're in a tough position. I think De'Aaron Fox put them into a corner, even though the writing was on the wall that he probably was going to have to get traded at some point. But they need defense, and they would be a team that's interested in Jrue Holiday. So the options, right? This option has been floated. I'm still not all the way there on this one, even though I like DeRozan as a player. I like the person even more. It's just the scheme fit, right? We like Jaylen Brown's a guy that likes to play out of the post. He's a guy that likes to get into his in-between game a lot too. But DeRozan is a guy that, like, he exclusively does that. I don't know about a primary creator that doesn't really take threes in the Joe Mazzulla offense. DeMar is a well improved playmaker, especially from his time in Toronto. When he went to the Spurs, he became a much better playmaker, and he can bring that. He's a guy that's gonna get buckets every night. He's a really methodical player. He can draw two guys, so with Tatum out, he can be a guy that takes that role, but his contract isn't expiring, and there would just be some more work to do to incorporate him than like a role player, right? So this trade actually works straight up. Then we will have a guy like Monk. Monk is a serious offensive player, just like DeRozan. Not just like DeRozan, but he is a really good offensive player. Now, these two guys are not what the Celtics usually want defensively and like their top guys. So, but if we do get Monk, like, this is a really effective scorer, really effective playmaker, and he would give us another scoring element as far as the guard position. We will have him and Pritchard as really, really good scoring guards. We would probably have to put in Valanciunas in this deal. Yeah, so that works. We don't really need Valanciunas, honestly. Actually, I don't know, but I don't want a center like Val on our team, to be honest. He's a guy that's like slow-footed. Again, that's just, our defense will take a huge hit with these trades, especially if we're trading with the Kings. The only player that I really, really want is Keon Ellis. The thing that makes this hard is that Keon Ellis only makes $2 million. So he would be like a throw-in in a trade, which will probably tip the value scales for the Kings too much. So yeah, I doubt they would give us a guy like Keegan Murray in a Jrue trade. I love Devin Carter. I loved him coming out of the draft last season. He's not 6'8", he's like 6'3", but he has long arms. He's another defensive guy. So the Kings are like trying to draft defensive guys. They draft Devin Carter. I believe Keon Ellis was a second round pick or undrafted, I'm not sure. But they are trying to draft some defensive guards. But everybody on their team, except for like Keegan, Devin Carter, and Keon Ellis, are not really the type of defenders I want on this team. So if this happens, we'll probably like try to reroute Valanciunas to a third team with some draft capital. We don't have to take on that. So we would get Monk. He sheds about half of Jrue's contract, even though he's on a 3-year deal. I believe his last year is a player option. So we'll have to do some limbo in there, but a real offensive punch and Monk at the guard position, the contract would be cut in half in comparison to Jrue's contract. I would love Keon Ellis. He is the piece I want most if a Kings trade was to happen, is Keon Ellis. He is a guy that is their best defender on their team. He shot 41% from three back-to-back seasons. So he shot 43% this season. He shot 41% last season. He is a definition of a 3-and-D. And if you need a guy to replace Jrue Holiday, he won't be able to guard up the lineup like Jrue does, so he's not going to be checking Karl Anthony Towns. But Keon Ellis is a real deal. If he was the cornerstone of a Jrue piece, I would not be mad at all. But with the amount of bread that he makes, it's just not possible. So it will have to be Keon and like DeRozan, and that probably would be too much for the Kings. Now, hopefully it's not, but that would probably be too much for the Kings. And if they somehow, if we could somehow talk him into this, that right there. And like, they don't have no salary for us. Carter is valuable. He's a rookie. Well, he was a rookie, so he has some value. So unless we do this, and again, we would have to really send Jonas to a third team. I wouldn't mind this, but the Kings want Jrue Holiday, they need Jrue Holiday. Based on everything I've heard, they're still trying to look for a point guard after trading 2 point guards. We have options. We have Monk, we have DeRozan, we have Keon Ellis. I don't know if they put Devin Carter in trade talks, but we'll see. And they don't have expiring contracts though. That's one thing they don't have. Monk is a guy that we will probably keep, so it's probably not that bad at all, but he can play with Tatum and Brown. DeRozan can play with them. It's just a wonky scheme fit. He is 35 years old, but he's still a guy that can play and get buckets. Now, for the last team, of course, is a team that's probably the most rumored, and it's the Dallas Mavericks. They want / need Jrue Holiday. They have expressed interest in him. Their GM, Nico Harrison, says defense wins championships. They're looking for a defensive player. Jrue Holiday fits that. They have options, right? They have options. So, of course, we'll be sending Jrue Holiday. And they have options, right? They have the guy in Klay Thompson, who was only making 15 per year, is a role player, of course, is older, but is a guy that can catch flames in any game at any time. PJ Washington is a 3-and-D guy who can rebound well, and he's also on an expiring deal at $15 million. We have Daniel Gafford, who is a simple play finisher, shot blocking center, right, on 13M. So they have like some prototypical role players that the NBA would want. If the Celtics get those guys and then it comes to the trade deadline and they want to flip those guys, it doesn't really matter because they're expiring, because PJ and Gafford especially are expiring contracts. So if we can't trade them, no biggie. We literally get off of the Jrue contract in one season if we trade for these guys. Now, getting this ideal package is kind of tricky because the money doesn't work, right? So for a PJ Gafford deal, the money does not work. Because this is 28 M's. Jrue's contract is exactly 30. They don't have a guy that's making like $1 million, because even if we throw in Hardy, it takes us a little bit over, and the Celtics are a second April team. They can't take back a penny more than what they send in. And we can't use this TBE because the second apron says you can't use a pre-existing trade exception. The cash still doesn't work anyway because the Mavericks are hard cap. Now, the deal that does work that I've seen is we can do Washington. We could put in Caleb Martin, who I don't want because his contract is 3 years, and I also just don't want Caleb Martin. But just for the sake of showing the money, I believe this works. Yes, so this works. So PJ, Caleb Martin, Dwight Powell. I want Washington and Gafford. That might be a little bit greedy, but Washington is expendable because you're probably going to draft Cooper Flagg. You have a young guy in Max Christie who has shown a lot and is blossoming as a player. You have Najee Marshall, who at times looked like a real creator. On the wing, you also have a guy in Maxime Prosper who could be a really toolsy 3-and-D wing if his shot comes through. Now, Gafford is less likely to be traded because of Anthony Davis saying that, you know, it's been well documented over the years that he wants to play the 4. So you need 2 real centers on your roster like Gafford and Lively. So at any point and any iteration of your lineups, you have 2 guys that can really hold down the 4 at the 5 and allow AD to play what he wants to play. But Gafford did say that he wanted starter money. So maybe the Mavericks are just turned off by that. He won't get starter money over here. We can either re-sign him for cheap and he comes to his senses, or we can just let him walk. This deal works. I don't think they'll throw in Najee Marshall. I would love for them to throw in Christie. I would love for them to throw in Lively. I just don't think that stuff's happening. But I don't want Caleb Martin's contract because that's 3 years. So, but he might be the only way we get this done for real, for real. So yeah, maybe after like free agency, they sign a guy for like $1 million and we can get that to the PJ Gafford trade. But we do have options in this trade. Of course, they have expressed want and interest in Jrue Holiday. We got options, expiring contracts, role players that can play with Tatum and Brown. And yeah, man, these are my 3. Of course, there are other teams. If you have any other teams that you want to shout out and some trades that you would do, please put that in the comments. Let's talk about it. But yeah, I just wanted to give you guys a quick video for today. But that is the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, subscribe, and share in everyone that you can. Just show out there a little bit more. Hey, I shouldn't have to tell y'all, but you should have took your shoes off at the start. Sorry I didn't tell you, but it's a sign somewhere that says take your shoes off. But this is Nick. I'll see you guys next video. Peace.